Good morning, Good Samaritan Church. We are celebrating Father's Day, and I have three amazing fathers with me this morning, Kevin, Philip, and John, and they agreed to have some conversation with me. So the first question I have for the fathers, what has been the challenging part of being a father? Philip, you want to start us with, please?
Sure. Uh, Kids have a lot of energy, and for me, it's sometimes challenging to have enough energy to meet them where they are.
Okay. How about Kevin?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge was kind of developing my own style of being a parent and then evolving that over time. Probably like many of you, your parents were kind of your role model for parenting. And so it's been a challenge to take the best of what we saw from our parents, but then kind of, choose to kind of forgo those approaches that maybe were kind of the older era and, try to figure out, over time what kind of father it was that I wanted to be.
Thank you. How about John? Seems like you're the person who doesn't have any challenges. So I'm wondering, did you have any challenge of being a father? Go ahead, please.
Well, I'm not going to tell on the things my kids have done that have been challenging for me, but I think one of the early and long-lasting challenges for me was trying to find an appropriate balance. So before I had kids, I could sort of segment my life into who I was and what I was doing and what was important when I was away from home versus what was, all those things when I was with my wife. And then kids enter the picture, and all of a sudden, I'm a father and a husband, and I have these other responsibilities to work, to church, to my parents. And trying to balance all of those was a challenge that became increasingly difficult when I had two children to balance between instead of just one.
Yeah, for me also, the challenge has been the idea that am I doing right thing? What is this going to impact for my children when they grow up? What they will look back and say like, okay, Dad, that was right or wrong. And so I'm like questioning myself all the time and often compare myself with other fathers. So that has been my challenge. The second question I have for us is, what has been the rewarding part of being a father?
Oh gosh, I'll start. So every time that I see one of my children really come into their own in a new way or a new situation, new skill or capability, especially when it's a surprise to me. There are things that I've watched them build, but there are other things that, I don't know, just appear out of nowhere that where all of a sudden one of my kids is doing something that's just amazing to me. And gosh, it doesn't get much more rewarding than that.
Thank you. How about Philip? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I actually like talking to the kids of everybody on this call quite a bit, but that's the most rewarding thing for me is talking to these kids. They have a lot of things to say, especially as they're getting a little bit older, and I just enjoy that so much.
Thank you. How about Kevin? What has been rewarding for you?
Yeah, it's similar. It's that friendship that I now have with my adult son, and as parents, we're in this last few months, we've really enjoyed that family time together under one roof, enjoying the daily connection, and I think especially even more because we know eventually he'll have his own place. We probably won't be seeing each other every day like we are today.
Yeah, for me also, I think the same way, when the kids were younger, it was really, we were taking care of them all the time. And it was more like giving all the time. But now as they're growing, slowly we're developing this amazing relationship, this friendship, and hanging out with them, going, for lunch and dinners and picking up them from school. And like when we have, prayer time in the evening, the way they open up about the particular scripture. Other day, like we started to pray and then we started to have a conversation all about, how to handle themselves in a peer pressures. And I wasn't the one who started that. They started from, and I don't know how did they get from the Song of David, the peer pressure thing, but it was amazing conversation. So the third question I have for us is, what have you learned from church, God, the Bible about being a father?
I guess I feel really fortunate to have grown up at Good Sam as a kid, where there were a lot of effective families and a lot of good role models as fathers. Now, my own dad was not a slouch, and so I'm very fortunate in that a lot of the things that sort of first occur to me are based on my experience, which was a pretty good experience. So I haven't spent a lot of time trying to, carve a bad father out of my life in order to make a better one for myself. The Bible is interesting for me in that it's kind of hard for me to find really powerful and effective father figures in the Bible. I mean, there's all kinds of stories of fathers and sons, and a lot of times in my situation in this culture, what I see happening there is not something I want to do. I'm never going to take my son up to a mountaintop, put him on a slab of stone, and start to carve into him with a knife, only to be called back by the voice of God at the last minute. I think that would ruin our relationship for a long, long time. So, it is interesting to try and look at the Bible to look at really good examples of fatherhood. But in my experience, they're kind of few and far in between.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else want to go? How about Philip? Go ahead.
I actually grew up attending a church called Grace Church, and I think that's the thing for me. That church and that youth group there, and then church camp was a really safe place. And even as a young person, I was kind of aware that this feels different, and now I would say that that's grace. That there was grace there, and that God really actually shows me grace, and usually, mostly, I just need that grace, but occasionally I try to share it or try to make that same safe place for my kids.
Yes, thank you. How about Kevin?
Yeah, I think I learned that it takes a community, and the church is, one of those special communities. Our son started a Good Sam preschool, and that's to some extent what brought us to Good Sam Church over 20 years ago. So it's become like an extended family, and his experience of growing up in the church is very similar to my own. And so, I have all these wonderful memories of those connections, and they've lasted a lifetime.
Yeah, for me, I think when I read the Bible, especially the story of prodigal son returning home, and father rejoice in having him back. And in fact, he calls that my son was dead, but now he's alive. And I think that's such a beautiful image of God, that there is never a time that I can go so far from God and can never return. So, and I think I want to extend that kind of invitation to my children and to the children, other children. So once again, thank you all for being here. I have one more request. Any last word you want to share with your children or the church at large? Kevin, go ahead. Seems like you're ready.
Well, happy Father's Day. We've earned it, and it's always a special time. Of course, every day's a special day too. So
thank you.
Enjoy it.
The three of us had our kids kind of grow up in a similar bunch of folks who, at the same time here at the church, and I couldn't be more proud of all of the people in that bunch. What an amazing group of young adults that they have all become.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day. There's a lot of other great fathers in the church that I've learned from and enjoyed getting to know on this call. And so happy Father's Day. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, and may God bless all the fathers and all the parents in this church and everywhere. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now do we do stupid things for the outtake reel?
Hey, you're still recording, John?